Welcome to my new blog post 10. And in this blog post, I'm going to discuss about the database instance. So let's start. So when we talk about the database instance, basically what I actually mean is like a database instance is basically a state of operational database with data at any given time. It basically contains a snapshot of the certain database, and database instances tend to change with respect to time. dbms basically ensures that it's every instance or the state is actually in a very valid state by diligently following all the validations, constraints, and conditions that the database designers have imposed. There is a when we talk about the database instance, we also need to understand about the database schema. It is very important that we should distinguish these two terms individually. So I'm just going to talk about the differences between the database schema and the database instance. So when we talk about the database schema, basically it is the skeleton of the database, and it is designed when the database doesn't even exist at all. Once the database is actually operational, it is very difficult to make any changes to it. A database schema does not contain any data or information. On the other hand, the database instance does contain information and the data. For example, as we can see in the slide, when I talk about the schema, it means like there are three tables like course, student, and grade, and then there are columns that are actually defined in it, that are actually defined in these tables. For example, course contain course name, course id, and department. A student actually contains name, id, course, and semester. And then there is a grade table which actually contains the id, semester, course, and grade. So this is basically the schema of the database. It is actually defining the data structure of the database. Whereas when I talk about the database instance, it means like the course will contain the information within its columns. Like for example, there shall be many courses like maths, english, um, biology, physics, chemistry. So these are basically course names, and this is actually the data. So this is the data that will be uh, captured by any database instance. So this is the basic difference between the database instance and the schema. So further, I can say once you actually declare a schema for a database, it won't get frequently modified as it distributes the organization of data in the database. On the other hand, instance basically updates frequently. Also, data definition statement specifies the generation and modification of schema. And on the other hand, DML statements basically specify generation and modification of data inside the database. So when I talk about the ddl statements, it's like about creating a table, like create statement of the table, dropping a table like drop table. So these are the statements that are defined under ddl, and there are many statements like this, and we will discuss them in near future. On the other hand, I will when we talk about the dml statements, it means like update statement or uh, delete statement or truncate statement. So these are basically data manipulation statements, and these are actually utilized to change or alter the database instances. So conclusion is this: like whenever you think about creating a database, you have to create a schema that would define the outline of for the formation of a database. And a good schema is able to generate a good database, and schema should be created carefully as frequent changes are not accepted in the schema and may cause problem, right? So hopefully you have understood the concept.